today will be our 8th practice in pads. You'll see some live stuff going on out there today. We'll have 3 or 4 live periods today. So today's a big day. With the new protocol, with how you practice, we've, pretty much it's kind of every other day that we will tackle. So yesterday we got a lot of reps with a lot of the young guys. Didn't do anything live, but got a lot of reps and evaluated a lot of guys. Today will be full pads and full go, and we'll crank it up and we'll see how these guys respond to it. So, just overall been very happy with, the effort. Been very, with a lot of bodies, we're able to keep a lot of guys fresh and play a lot of balls. We've taken about 300 team snaps at this point. So, been out there for about 3 hours a day, had good walkthroughs and meetings in the morning. So again, in a pretty good place, but just got an awful long ways to go here before we make decisions on concrete starting lineups and who gets what snaps. So happy, relatively healthy. Don't got anybody, haven't lost anybody for an extended period of time at this point, and hopefully we will continue to maintain health and get reps and get ready to go. So that's where we're at. Anybody's got any specific questions? Otherwise, I'll get back to work. Okay, good. I'm sure you got a few questions. Yep.
How's he progressing?
Really good, night and day from where he was last year. Last year at this time, and we talked about this yesterday in the team and the staff meeting about putting him on some special teams a year ago. He didn't play a single snap of special teams because he couldn't handle being a full-time starter as a true freshman and be able to do additional things. So there was a lot of times where he was lost a year ago, even in games. He was lost, and he wasn't as physical, and he wasn't triggering the right way. He looks no different to me than Carl and KJ out there as far as knowing what to do, breaking on the ball, being a sure tackler. Being in the right place at the right time, and we're starting to experiment with a couple of things that we can do with him with special teams as well.
He said he didn't get comfortable until spring, so he went
through
the entire 13-game season, and he was the #1 rated recruit on your board 2 years ago. That shows you how tough it would be to play this game.
No, there's no doubt. How many young kids can come in and play as true freshmen? If your team's in a good place, then there's not going to be many. So, right now, looking at our depth chart with true freshmen, I think we're going to have a couple of wideouts that are going to be able to play. Other than that, I wouldn't anticipate any of them playing. So, again, it goes back to all these seniors that are sitting in the room right now. We watched a couple of clips from some special teams things a couple years ago, and you were seeing guys like Nana and Chestnut and Isaiah and Carl and KJ and that were on these special teams that were also playing a bunch of snaps for us on defense, and it looked like those guys were in junior high compared to what their bodies look like now. So life's been made of the depth because we're in a much better place with our roster and the depth chart, so we're not going to need freshmen to come in and play very much. And if they do, that's because they're a different talent than what we've recruited. Yeah, he's a runner and a tackler. That's why he's at free safety. He played some running back and maybe quarterback, I don't remember, but he did some things offensively. But you got to be pretty skilled, and I think KJ Dillon's pretty skilled, but he hasn't been able to handle what he's handling now until now. Being able to be in the return game and also focus 100% on a bunch of snaps defensively. It takes a different kind of kid. Whether Drayvon can get there or not, I don't know.
And how are you handling Kyle Bosch's rotation? You give him first-team snaps, or what are you doing with your
He's got a minor concussion right now. He's been sitting for a few days. He's been rotating first and second team guard. Ron mixes those guys up a good bit just to try to find the appropriate lineup and you know, who works well with each other. But he's not cleared for today. He may be out there in a green jersey. I don't know. We got a staff meeting at 1 to go over this, but he's missed a couple of days. But before he went down, he's shown some good things. Looks a little bit more motivated than he was in spring, based on knowing he can play.
Any update on Russell Douglas?
Mm-mm.
As far as redshirting players go, how do your staff have a timeline? What's the timeline like for when you guys make those decisions?
We won't talk to them about it until probably the week before game week. You know, it's a little unusual year because we have 5 full weeks before the first game. So we'll go 2 weeks of camp. This is week 2 of camp. Then we'll go next week is you know, a whole lot of adjustments because of school starting and less practice time, less meeting time. But we'll get some practices in, get them used to the daily schedule of school, so to speak, and then then the next week we will do a mock week where we'll practice what it's like to go through a full game week. So we want to kind of have our depth charts pretty well in line at that point. We want our scout teams pretty well in line at that point. So probably the Sunday or Monday prior to that mock week, we'll sit down with some guys and say, here's where you are. Our plan right now is red shirt, go to the scout teams and do what you got to do to help us get ready. And then you never know, you're only a play away from us having to pull that. So, you know, throughout camp, we don't do much scout team work. We just play a lot of football against each other, which gives us ample opportunities to be able to evaluate these guys.
Do you have a better idea now which players you redshirt compared to years past because you guys are deeper?
Yeah. You know, it doesn't change how we practice, though. You know, and we want to give these kids every opportunity to be able to prove themselves. So do we have an idea more so than in years past? You know, I got probably a better idea who is and who isn't, and I have no interest whatsoever in sharing that information with you or anybody else.
Can you elaborate on the freshman wideouts? I'm assuming Jovan and Jennings, but
Yeah, I think we did well in recruiting last year, receiver-wise. All 3 of the guys, Karan, Jovan, and Gary, are as good as I thought they would be. Up to this point. Now, can they do it over the long haul? We'll keep coaching them and keep evaluating them. But right now, those 3 guys are in the mix. Whether that means start, backup, whatever, I don't know. We'll keep practicing them and coaching them. But right now, I'm happy with all 3 of them.
What's the rest of your mix at wide receiver? I mean, it seems Shelton.
Shelton's done some good things. He's trying too hard. You know, he had a lot of success in spring, so he's trying hard to be like the best one in the country right now. He's got to let the game come to him. So he's doing some good things. KJ Myers, I've been very proud of, for a guy that's been here for as long as I have, and hasn't been productive. He's what a program guy is all about, and hard worker, great teammate, hasn't allowed himself to get discouraged and leave or graduate and move on with life. He's very motivated to make this a good year for him and a good year for us. So I've been very proud of him. DeKeel's done well. Jordan's done well. You know, and then we got a couple other guys that need to keep progressing. Nobody else to really talk about.
Dana, in Dallas, you said that your first couple of years you learned about the types of bodies you wanted to recruit for Big 12 play. You know, now that you have this class in there of wide receivers and across the board, I mean, what kind of body are you looking for at the wide receiver position for Big 12 play?
Fast, big, strong, agile, athletic.
Is it any different than where you might have coached in years past?
Nah.
When you guys played the Big East?
Yeah, I mean, just guys that can make plays, you know, athletic, fast, you know, tough. It takes being in a program, when you recruit against the guys, if you take those 3 kids that we recruited and who we beat out to get them, you got to have something to sell. and having, you know, a couple of guys that are, 4 guys that are playing on Sundays right now, and the building that you're sitting in right now is a start. It just needs to keep progressing. If we want to continue to beat people out and have something to prove, we need to keep going forward when it comes to being able to have that to offer kids. So, like I said, I thought we did well in recruiting those 3 guys, and they've lived up to what I thought they could do at this point. Body type, I don't look at it as much. The bigger, faster, stronger you can get, the better. I think everybody would agree to that, but a kid that's 160 pounds right now that runs a 4.2 is pretty appealing as well.
Dan, obviously last year you had Skylar for a couple games, but have you tinkered with your offense to take advantage of his mobility over the summer? Are you adding things?
Yes. Started to last year with him. And you got William, who's pretty athletic. David's pretty athletic. Jugs is a little more athletic than I thought. So, in recruiting, the guys that we're targeting are probably a little bit more athletic. I think that's not uncommon for a lot of people across the country at this time. Not only can you do some different things schematically, which I've talked about this with y'all, you can do some different things schematically just throughout the course of a normal pass play. It helps you to be able to keep it alive and, not get sacked, not get caught, be able to keep the play alive, extend the play is pretty big.
What's your comfort level with backup quarterbacks right now?
Better than it was 8 practices ago. William's doing a lot better with signals, with communication, knowing where to go with the ball. I've been really impressed with Chugs up until this point. He spins it really good, and he's a very, very, very smart kid. David's probably the smartest guy in the room. He understands football as well as anybody, and he's extremely athletic. Ball's got to go from point A to point B for all of them in order for me to give them some serious thought as far as taking snaps. They're improving. I'm happy with their progress.
Besides Kyle Bosch, any injuries to speak of?
Al Benton missed practice yesterday with a slight knee. He should be out there today. I hate to even comment on a couple of these guys because they don't do nothing. I thought that one slipped by. But nothing to extent. And I know you're relatively new. My injury deal, I'd hate talking about it. I think it's a moot point until somebody's really out. You guys will be out there today, and you'll be able to see who's out there and who's not. But when somebody's done and it's a long-term situation, I will tell you. If it's a day-to-day thing, it just bugs me a little bit to talk about it.
I know you talked a lot about the punt return, but has anybody emerged into kickoff return spots?
Yes.
And who?
Kickoff return?
Yes, kickoff return.
I thought you want to talk about punt return.
Kickoff.
Which one do you want to talk about?
Kickoff return.
We're working it today. You'll see them out there. KJ, Jackie are 2 good off-return kind of guys. Shelton, we think is going to be pretty good. Jovan, we think is going to be pretty good. But we've worked punt return way more than we have kick return. So, but we're working kick return today, so you'll see those guys out there.
Shelton's on your one coverage kickoff coverage.
He was probably the best we had last year at punt coverage and kickoff coverage. He was everywhere. So I know what your question is. You want to go ahead and say it, or? Well, he can't do everything. He can't be kick return, kick cover, punt cover, wide receiver. He can't do all that stuff. So we got to figure out what he deserves on offense, what he's capable of on offense, and how many snaps he'll take on offense will dictate, and not just him, but will dictate how many snaps they take on special teams. We've really challenged our team, and we've challenged the likes of Wendell Smallwood, Da'Keel Shorts, KJ Dillon, Carl Joseph, Shaq Petaway, Darryl Worley, Chestnut, Drayvon. We've challenged all those guys to give us something, whether it's 1 unit or 2 units based on how many snaps that you're taking on that specific side of the ball. And I've been extremely happy with their response and their eagerness to get out there and make that side of the ball as good as we can possibly make it.
Skylar's mentioned his footwork is something he worked on. Time he had with him, probably didn't do a whole lot of last year. He was playing, but what mechanically, that's worked on.
I disagree with that a little bit, because when you guys go out there, you've seen, the quarterback coaches. Now, Mike, I mean, he'll be drilling the heck out of those guys. And that's the number one thing that they work on is what's happening below the waist. And then, the accuracy with where they throw into a net. So footwork and accuracy is what drills are all about. You can't sit there and drill guys in that 15-minute period on the mental aspect of the game. I mean, that's what team and Pascal and meetings and all that stuff are for, and I handle about 95% of that. The footwork, the quick release, the accuracy, that's what Mike does as good as anybody I've had when it comes to working those guys for 15 minutes. So he worked a lot on it last year, and he's working a lot on it this year, and I've seen a big difference in not only him but the other guys as far as improvement goes.
Coach, the continuity with this year's coaching staff, has that been as good as you've seen since you've been here? And furthermore, past that, has that led to a change in the culture around here?
Yeah, that's great, man. It's super. Offensively, being with Ron and J1 and Lonnie going on our third year is great, is really good. And we've talked about the GA situation, getting, Michael and somebody's got a phone call here. Michael and Gerberry's done a great job. Big Zach Huter's done an outstanding job with the tackles. I mean, he's a valuable asset with what we're doing. Those guys have done nothing but improve what we've done offensively. Defensively, having Bruce Tall is night and day different than what it was last year, because Gibby's so comfortable with them, been with them, knows the defense, understands the technique, as well as the scheme, and the D-line looks just 100% different based on his knowledge of what we're doing defensively. And those guys they get along. I mean, Gibby's extremely happy with having Mark Scott back, having Defoe back, having B. Mitch back. I mean, that's a unit that is completely on the same page. So I couldn't be happier with the guys and where they're at. And, there's going to be adversity down the road. Everybody understands that. And I think this is a group that's going to be able to handle it. Coaches with coaches, coaches with players, and vice versa as well.
Skylar mentioned trying to open up his body to the field so that he wasn't closing off, I guess, his backside times on a drop. Is that a big issue? Is that a minor fix with footwork? Or?
It's just where his feet is. I mean, if you go back and study the Iowa State game compared to the A&M game, then you'll see two different quarterbacks from the waist down. And he's taken that and really worked hard on it. He was pretty antsy in that game, and his feet were never still. He's really done a good job with that out there. And, we watch every Pascal snap and every team snap, and we critique it. And I think he's doing a lot better.